Today we're talking to a guest like a lot of people has tried a million different ways to make money online and unfortunately has been burned in the process.
1,500 down and severely disappointed in what I got. I don't really know if I trust the online space anymore.
And this guy was no stranger to adversity because the day after he had jumped into our program, he got fired from his job at Tesla.
I came in on the 15th. The next day I went into work, I got fired.
But all that did was light a massive fire under him and gave him a ton of time to just master his craft and land multiple appointment setting gigs.
The interviews on Tuesday, finished the book on Wednesday, I did the podcast stuff on Thursday. Friday they gave me a call and were like, hey, we really love your effort and your work ethic. We would like to offer you the position. Really?
All of that and much more coming up in today's episode of the Remote Closing Academy podcast. Dude, Nasir, how is the week going so far?
It's been a great week. It's been a great week for sure. Yeah, I'm just happy to be here.
Sweet, man. So I don't know if you've listened to any of the episodes in the past. I think you did mention that you have in the past. Yeah. And one of the things that we like to do just to kind of jump into it is, rewind the clocks back before remote closing, before it really as far back as you want to go. Just, I guess we can get started on who you used to be and how you got here.
Right. So before actually started looking in like the online space back in February, I invested into some things that didn't really work out. And at the time I was working as a phlebotomist. And when that didn't work out, I was like, okay, I need to find a way to make some money quick because of an opportunity that I just didn't have money for. So I started slaving at Tesla for $20 an hour in 12-hour shifts. And okay, this is killing my body. There has to be an easier way. And so I just kept, scourging the internet, just looking for something that could work for me. Then I seen a video of Aaron on the internet just talking about like, hey, come do remote closing. It's very lucrative. You're gonna be able to do X, Y, Z. And I was like, man, let's see if this is real. So yeah, then I just kind of hit you up. I was still working at Tesla at the time, putting in those 12-hour days. Definitely do not ever want to go back there. But yeah, then we had our conversation. I got set up to Nick, to Jared. And now, after those months in RCA, I'm here.
The rest is history. Got it. So I do want to go into some of those parts there. So what were some of the other things that you tried in terms of like making money online?
So I've looked into like drop shipping, Amazon FBA, made my own drop shipping store, and then I realized I didn't have any money to really put into products and news, so I stopped doing that. And that was around like the end of the year last year, around like November, December. Then I rode into the year and I was following I'm pretty sure Iman Godzi. I was following him and I was like, okay, this dude's super successful. He's 1 year older than me. What am I doing wrong? And then he had like this agency navigator course. And it was a 1,500. So it's like, okay, he made an agency, can't be that hard. Well, I mean, there's obviously things you have to learn, those learning curves, but I was like, okay, this is something I'm going to do. I took 1,500 down and was severely disappointed in what I got. And I was like, okay, I don't really know if I trust the online space anymore. I don't know if I'm going to put money into anything because the only thing I learned from that was set up an LLC. So I did that. Didn't really nothing really came from that. And then I tried to get into like real estate investment, like with no money down. Personally, for me, that was just way too confusing. So yeah, all those just kind of ended pretty quickly because it just didn't make sense to me.
Got it. So you went through, I think we're both kind of laughing with the Iman thing because I've been making a lot of videos about his stuff recently. And, I think the biggest thing that I'll say on that, because I don't want to harp too much on it, but, the biggest thing is I was talking with Cole and, when I was first thinking about making a video about, some of his newer stuff, and I was like, I don't want to come off like, I don't want to come off weird because we kind of have a program that's very similar and whatever when I'm talking about the sales stuff. But he was like, dude, like you got to look at it more as like almost like a personal, kind of like a personal shot in the sense of, he's bringing people in that and not really like fulfilling the promises. So it's like you're going to either let them go in there and you not make the video of like not exposing it, but really calling it how it is. And when I changed that mindset, definitely helped out a lot. I'm like, all right, I'm just going to talk about this stuff. But back on that same thing, and even if it wasn't Iman or whatever, what was the switch for you? Or because you were saying you were kind of burned after that. You didn't know if you wanted to invest anything after that. So what helped you get over the fear of the next thing not working?
It was some advice that I got. I think I read it in a book. I think it was something by Robert Kiyosaki. He said, "Don't get burnt twice. Like, don't let a one bad, or maybe it wasn't him, but it was something somewhere that said, don't let a bad decision once burn you twice." And so I just kind of did a little more research on like RCA before I actually like went in, and then like whole story of just being like the guy in sales in like the space. I was like, okay, he's definitely legit. And then you have all the testimonials on his website of like this working. And it's not like just like screenshots of like results. It's like people telling like their actual beliefs of everything. And so like that was like more personable to me, and it kind of made me, it helped me get over it in the long run.
Yeah, and I think there's a much more, I don't know. I think younger people a lot of times they trust really easily, and that was me even back in back when I first started all this stuff. It's like I was buying like courses left and right. I was like, this is gonna be the next one. This is gonna be the next one. But I think there's a difference between kind of like you're saying, it's like the difference between decision and like an educated decision. It's like instead of going out and investing in everything, make sure that you are putting in the research. And, I recommend anyone doing that, whether it's this or, anything else out there, is do your research, ask, how many people are actually seeing success? Is the person that's selling this thing still actively doing what they're selling? Right. Because if not, then I mean, that's kind of a red flag in my book.
Yeah.
So, okay, so you see the ads, we're having the conversation. What happened after that? So, did you have to get on multiple calls? Like what was the process after having our initial conversation?
So after the DM conversation, this is what shocked me. I was so confused. He's like, "Hey, let's book a time to talk." And then I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna talk to this guy Aaron." There's a dude named Nick on the other side of the screen. And I'm like, "Oh, okay. That's so kind of threw me off." I was like, "I was gonna talk to Aaron." And I think I even asked, I was like, "You're not Aaron? Like, what are you doing?" He's like, "Yeah, Aaron's
You don't
busy."
look like him.
So yeah, he was like, "Aaron's busy. I don't know what he said, but I was like, okay, cool, whatever. Makes sense. He's doing all this stuff online. Probably has a lot going on." Um, so yeah, I talked to Nick. Nick kind of took me through the setup process before. It's kind of like in hindsight, like looking back, it's like, oh wow, I was telling him all this stuff, and it's like exactly the everything I've learned. So Nick is definitely good. Um, but yeah, talk to Nick. He was like, "Yeah, we're gonna get you on a call with Jared." And I think talking to Jared was like the easy. Like there probably couldn't have been a better person to like close me on this, because he was living the life that I like told Nick I want to live. And so when I got on the phone with Jared, and he was just like, "Yeah, like I do this. I'm able to do X, Y, Z because." I trusted myself and I put the time in. Like he didn't make it seem like, "Hey, you're gonna come in here and it's gonna work out for you." And he's like, "No, like you gotta learn this. You gotta dedicate the time. Um, but like once you do, like you have this forever. And then maybe one day, and this is like it was like easy. He's like, one day it'll be sipping drinks on the beach somewhere. I don't remember where you said maybe Greece. I don't know, but yeah, I was like, man, yeah, I'm doing this. So that's how that
Yeah, man. And that's why I love, the whole remote closing side and like this being what we're teaching people to do. Cause it's almost like a cheat code in a way. Cause, we, back to what I just said of like, you want to make sure that the people that are selling this thing are still actively doing the thing they're selling. Right. But even just us having the phone call with you is proving that we are doing what we're teaching to do.
exactly.
Right. So it's like, it's already kind of baked in there. And it's that immediate trust of like, like you said, you look back at it and it's like, oh yeah, that was the setter process. Like that's exactly what I went through. So there's a lot of parallels there that can help you, help other people also make the same decision. So, okay. So you decide to come in. What was next? Like, what was your initial, like, maybe like, what was your first week? What was your initial thoughts? Like, was there, any maybe hesitation when you first jumped in? Just, I guess, first thoughts when you jumped in.
So to be completely honest, I came in on 15th. I went to work. I think that was I think I don't know. I was off the day I got closed. The next day I went into work, I got fired. Um, so and
Why? Was it because of that? Was it related at all, or just serendipitous?
nah, so literally what happened, my at the end of my shift, after the end of my 12-hour shift, could have sent me home right. They say, yo, you were gone for an hour and a half at work, and I don't know why you left. I was like, first of all, I don't even drive to work. It's settle there. Like it was very, very. There was no reason for me to leave. I couldn't even leave if I wanted to. So I was like, I was literally trying to fight for my job. And I'm like, like that's BS. Like, tell me the evidence. They didn't show me any evidence. I still had to get like escorted out of the factory. But yeah, initially my plan was like my first week was like, okay, I'm gonna go to work. I'm not really gonna touch this while I'm at work because I work 12-hour days. I don't want to like be burnt out in doing it. So I'm gonna do it on my days off because I work 3 days and 4 days. Um, but then when that happened, I was like, okay. So two things: I can either sit and sulk, or I could just make sure that this works. So I was like, I'm gonna just put all the 12 hours that I was putting into, you know, um, my job, and put it in this. And so that's what I did for like first week, first 2 weeks, and I thought I was good, and I still was really, really bad. And I'm still pretty bad, like if I like think about it, but I'm way better than the bad that I used to be. So, um, yeah, like my first week was really just like going through everything, all the trainings with Cole, getting on the phone with my coach, joining the coaching calls. I was very, very shy at the beginning. Now I'm really not shy at all. I wish I would have had this mindset when I first came in, and I think it would have just made my success happen so much quicker. But I was definitely still kind of, on the fence at the beginning.
What was and I think that's a very similar thing that I've heard from a lot of people, especially if you don't have like sales experience or anything like that. It's something to get used to. But what would you say to someone if you could tell yourself, if you could talk to yourself back in April when you first joined, what would be like a piece of advice that you would say to get over that initial like shyness, we'll say?
I'd probably just like look myself in the eye and be like, dude, like everyone in here wants the same thing as you. So like just come together. Like I was very like I didn't post in the community, I didn't like interact in the community, I didn't reach out in the community. I do that I talk to somebody new every single day because like it just reinforces that belief that it's here for us to be here for us. And I would have just really told like myself that like everyone in here wants the same, they want to be the same, they have the same or similar, maybe not the exact same goal, but they want similar. So just like let your walls down and just like accept it, like just go, like dive into it. Yeah. I think if I would have dove into it, we probably would have had a podcast earlier.
Yeah, that's how the science saying goes, right? It's like hindsight is 2020, and in order to get to the point where you are, you have to have those learning lessons in between. And I think it's just kind of a necessary evil of growth. I don't think there's a day that goes by that I also don't like make micro mistakes that I learn from. You know what I mean? And I think that's everybody. Yeah. Okay, so you're going through, and you, how long do you think it took you to get from that point to like finally feeling comfortable and actively doing mock calls and things like that?
So my first mock call was so bad, I actually didn't want to, like, I ran away from it, for like 3 days in a row. And I remember I told my coach, I was like, yo, like, I'm gonna knock these out and I'm gonna like get it done. And for my first one, I was like so discouraged because I was with someone who had done like probably like they're on their 40th. And I was like, oh my gosh, just do this. Like way better than me, so many levels ahead. Um, so yeah, getting out of that like that 3 day rut of like just not really doing anything, like kind of faking what I was like actually needing to do. Um, it was it. I just think I got back on the mock calls like one of the practice hours. And it was another new person. Like, yeah, I'm just here to prospect, like how I was my first day. And I was like, and that kind of like made it like a mindset shift. I was like, dang, like I was right there like a week and a half ago. And like now he's about to just listen to me, run through this, and he's super bad at it. And he's not gonna be able to give me any feedback because he's new. But, and then that kind of like triggered in my head, like, okay, one day I'll be where, guy that was on mock call 40 and that sounded good and did good. Like one day I can be there, but if I just beat myself up for being so bad right now, I'll never get there. So that was kind of like the mindset
Yeah.
shift.
Yeah, and I think that's really important. And I'm sure there's so many people, I wish I could interact with like every single person that comes through the program, but I think it's a very I mean, a lot of people have that mindset, not even just in this, right? It's like that comparison syndrome, right? Of, I think social media definitely makes it worse. But, one of the main reasons you jumped into this program was like you initially saw like Iman, and he kind of opened up your world of like, oh shoot, like there's success that's being able to make that, there's this success that you can make from doing stuff online. But then there's also like that piece inside you that is a little bit of like, well, if this person can do it, then I can do it. Or the opposite of like, why can't I do that? What makes me different? And anyone that's listening to this, I think just a really, really important thing to get over. And I don't think there's like a hack or tip or trick to do it, but it's just, I think there's a quote. It goes, comparison is the thief of joy. And the more that you compare yourself to other people, you don't understand the story that it took for them to get to that point. You can't compare, another quote, right? You can't compare your chapter 40, for example, to your chapter 1, right? Because there's so many other things that they've probably gone through to get to that point, right? Like I mean, in the last 6 years, I've done probably thousands of like live sales calls. So it's, my calls are obviously going to be better than someone that's been doing it for 6 months or doing it for a year, So again, anyone that's listening to this, I think just a piece to take from that is as much as you can, right? Try to keep the comparison syndrome down, and you will be a lot happier through that process. So, okay, so you start doing the mock calls. What happens after that? And then I do want to talk about the message that you sent to me. I think it was in like June, and I think basically what you said was like, hey, like, I'm not seeing the success that I want right now. What would you recommend? And I do want to touch on that for a second. Main reason being is there's very few people. It might sound kind of weird, but there's like very few people that have like actually like reached out to me personally. I could probably count them on one hand. And the thing is, like, I'm like honestly super available, and I love, helping where I can. So anyway, what led you to the point of like reaching out to me, and like what were some of the things that you were struggling with? Because I think a lot of people could learn some stuff from that.
Yeah, most definitely. Um, so I guess what kind of led to reaching out to you is I was at the point where I had been self-sourcing. So, gosh, like three job offers before I reached out to you. They're like, yeah, you're really good. We just went with someone with more experience. And I was told out of two out of those three before I talked to you that like I was second in line like to get the job. It's like I hate hearing that, but yeah, I'm on the right track. Um,
Yeah.
so I definitely I just got kind of discouraged, and I was like, okay, there's people are seeing success that I'm not seeing. So I reached out to a lot of people, and you being one of them. I was like, okay, like he got me in here. He probably has some tip or trick that can, help me succeed in here. So let me just see like what the advice would be, what I could do better. Ultimately, like that's why I reached out. And that's why I reached out to people that I saw like they're like, yeah, I landed an offer, I landed a gig, or if they said something in the community like I self-sourced it, like okay, I'm hitting up all these guys like, what did you do? I actually got like the biggest tip that got me the most interviews before I landed my job was Cole works with business owners, right? So I don't know if I'm like allowed to say this tip on self-sourcing, but if anyone in the community watches this, take this tip. Cole works with business owners, and some of those business owners work with business owners. So you can kind of work your way down a ladder of people that are looking for people that are they need centers, they need closers. If you just keep going down the line, look at it. They're not always going to respond. Like there's so many messages with no response, and that's okay. That's what sales is. It's a numbers game. You're going to get a bunch of no's before you get a yes. So like that, I don't know if you told me that or if some, I don't know exactly where I got it from, but I definitely we made my 1 minute video. And I was like, hey, are you looking for, setter or closer to come in, do XYZ? Boom, sent the video. And that I got blocked on Facebook, Instagram, me for a little bit. Like I was just going and going and going. And that got me a couple of interviews. Ultimately didn't lead to any jobs, but all the interviews that I got, that definitely helped me with the job that I did end up getting.
Yeah, man, that's I think a true test of if you're doing enough outreach is if you get blocked on all the platforms. Like if you're not getting blocked on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on TikTok, like if you're not getting blocked on these platforms, you're not doing enough. So just a little hack for you guys. But no, the thing that you mentioned about the businesses, I think that's a huge tip. And the other part to that, dude, and you've probably seen this too, is like, and I probably am a broken record at this point because I talk about this so much, but there's just so much opportunity out there. There's so many businesses, there's so many, so many businesses that are like actively looking for remote closers and appointment setters. It's just a matter of like, are you reaching out to enough of them to get into, get in the right, get in front of the right person. So what were, I guess, maybe just to get a little tactical, because you did do a lot of outreach, what would you say to someone that's kind of in that same spot of like, they don't really feel like they're hitting the traction that they want to, like any tips for someone on self-sourcing the amount that you've done?
I would say you can't get weary in it because I know I like just me being there, I know like, hey, like, no one hit me back today. No one got back to me today. It was like 3 days in a row, no one got back to me. And then like the next day, like five people will reach back, like, hey, I didn't see this. So it's just, you know, having patience. And in the meantime of like while all those people still aren't reaching out to you or getting back to you, you have the community, you have the practice, you have the modules. So like, all that time they're not getting back, you can just still be getting better. So that way, it's like the saying I came across it yesterday, luck is just when opportunity meets preparation. So you can't get lucky with an offer if you're not, when you're self-sourcing for the offer, but when the offer comes, it's like, oh, I put all this time into self-sourcing. I kind of backtracked on like my mock calls, going reviewing my sales calls, going over the content, talking to my coach, getting that feedback. And that happened to me, and I just don't like. You just want to make sure that you're able to focus on what you need to focus on, which is outsourcing. And then once you get blocked on everything, go back to the training.
Yeah, exactly. And a part that you touched on that is, I think, is really big, is just not to get stuck in the day to day, and not to get stuck in the day to day and think that your results from one single day is going to, is all you're going to get, right? And you can make
Yeah.
this comparison to everything, right? Like, weight loss is a good example. Sometimes like you can literally go to the gym every single day for a week and drink all the water that you need to and eat right, and you see the same number on the scale. And I say that just from my own experience of, my own weight loss journey of like, I think I sent you in that Loom video, I sent you the spreadsheet that I follow. And sometimes I'm just like super stressed. I'm like, bro, I swear I've been done cardio every single day, whatever. And it's like the scale hasn't moved in 3 days. But when you
Yeah.
look at it, it's all, a law of averages. And then, I would hit the seventh day and I would lose 4 pounds. I was like, oh, okay, there's the win,
Yeah.
So I think there's so many different parallels. And same thing with this is like, as long as you're following the law of averages and you're taking action on a daily basis, you are inevitably going to hit whatever the goal is, as long as you stay consistent enough with it. So kind of just took all that you said and put it in a nice box. So, okay. So you reach out to me, I gave you some tips, you got some tips from other people. And then you actually landed a gig. So what was the process from that point? What did you do in between to ensure that you landed that next gig?
Yeah. So I really buckled down on like the training. I even like once I went through calls, there's other people online. There's a lot of free stuff online if you like it's not gonna I mean, it's gonna help you. but like the basics are like in RCA for sure. But like the other advanced stuff, not even advanced, but just like other tips and tricks, they're all over the internet because people want you to come buy their stuff. So I just kept going through that and getting in my head, mock calling, and really just to build that belief that I am a good whatever I am, and which is a setter. And so once I had that belief built, I really told myself, I remember I was like, okay, the next job, like the next time I'm in front of somebody, I'm getting that job. I don't care what I gotta do. Like, I'm gonna get the job. I don't care. Like, if there's someone better than me, I don't care. Like, I'm not gonna be told no, no more. And I remember, because I kept updating my coach on like my self-sourcing. I was like, yeah. Like, and I found a couple of gigs in between getting the offer that I had, but people wanted the refund because the product wasn't good. Some people just wanted me to do the work for them. So like there's a lot of bad offers out there. I found that out. But then something came through the pipeline finally, and I was like, okay, it says like the potential is there. So then I got an interview. I was like, okay, let me do it. There's actually this is kind of a sidebar to the story. There's this girl that was on an interview, and I thought she was gonna get the job because one, the business owner was a woman, and they kind of like had this like connection moment. Then she disqualified herself and left the video like mid interview, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. Wait, so I'm back in there. I'm back in there. I was like, okay, I still don't really have any good experience. I don't like only thing I can do is show that I'm gonna work hard. And so the business owner, she had a book, he had podcast, he had social media, scraped everything. The book was online on Amazon. I had an Amazon point to get a free audiobook because I was like, I'm gonna finish that book, in a day. It was a 6 hours on audio, sped it up, took my notes, and I was like, man, I sent them an email. I was like, man, I love this, this book. I like the text that you use, everything, the whole 9 yards. Then after that, I was like, what else can I do to like, to be better prepared for you? And then they're like, okay, you could look at our podcast. I was like, okay, podcast, I'm on it. I watch an episode, like 3 of them, like, yeah, episode, 69, 73, and 78, like those XYZ, boom, I love it, blah, blah, blah. What else can I do? I think they were like, just, go over the page, watch some of the testimonials, get familiar. And then the interview's on Tuesday. I finished the book on Wednesday. I did the podcast stuff on Thursday. Friday, they gave me a call and were like, hey, we really love your effort and your work ethic. We would like to offer you the position. I was like, really? And as soon as I got the position, they're like, yeah, we need you to call this list of 800 people to make sure they're showing up for this thing. I was like, oh, okay, start right now.
Hey, what's going on? Aaron, just popping in to the episode really quickly. So at this point, you've already listened half of this episode. So I'm assuming that you're at least somewhat interested in remote closing and how you can learn a little bit more about it. So I put together a free training. You can go ahead and click the link down in the description or in the show notes if you're listening on the podcast. Click that link. Don't go watch it yet because we still have another half of the episode here of the success story of RCA. And just open it up, and just so you don't forget that you can go check out that video. It's going to go over not only what remote closing is, but also the 4-step process of what I would do if I was starting from scratch, starting over to still see a success online using remote closing. So that being said, let's jump back into the episode. Click the link down below. We'll see you on the other side.
They got you right away. That's funny. Okay. And yeah, I do want to just, commend you on just the more there's what am I trying to say? There's a quality that I see like of a lot of people that see success in this industry. And I think it's almost mandatory that you have this mindset. But I mean, you said it perfectly of like, you made the decision that you were going to make it work and you were going to do what you needed to do to make it work. So you took that initiative. I was doing the Instagram live about this earlier, but you took the initiative and you're like, what do I need to do? Okay, cool. Step 1, did it. What do I need to do again? Right. And I think there's a lot of people that, they come from, I think it's just how the world's going, right? There's a lot of entitlement, right? There's a lot of people that think that they are deserved things based on, participation trophies and things like that. Right. And, when people get hit with the real world, they're like, oh shit, like I actually like have to do some work to make money that's more than like a 9-to-5 job, And, I just, I want to just commend you on that. And just for anyone that's listening is if you want to see success, like literally the only thing that's holding you back and standing in your way from doing that is making the decision that not only are you going to hit it, but you're going to do everything in between in order to get to that point, you know?
Right.
So how was your, I guess, experience within that company? Because I do want to touch on Nasir. We were talking before, is he was on the offer and then actually ended up, leaving the offer for a couple different reasons. And we won't say the name of the offer or anything like that, but I think it's important for people to understand that it's not always going to work on the first one. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I think I went through, after I had my agency, or I'm sorry, before my agency, I had like 4 or 5 different offers that I was a part of. So it took going through that. So I guess, what was that experience, and what was what led to the decision of parting ways with them?
So yeah, when I got in, they actually, it's why I kind of feel bad for like, but it was a mutual um, like parting. Like we had a good conversation, so there's no bad blood on either side.
Yeah.
Um, but they took me to the Ascension event. That was like the first thing. So after I called all those people, um, they had their event, and they're like, "Yeah, we're gonna fly you out. You know, you can pay for your room. Like, we want you to be here for the training." I was like, "Thank you. That's amazing." So, um, yeah, we went there. I met them. I really got like a firsthand experience of like what. Well, I mean, for her, the level of like carefreeness from like seeing success in business. She's like, "You want this? You want that?" Like, we went out to dinner, and it was so nice. I got the food was amazing.
Yeah.
Um, and she just kind of, asked us about us. I learned like their backstory. It was a very, very good time. They're great people. Um, and I still love them and everything that they do, and I appreciate everything that they did. And then like being in the room of like RCA, and like Ascension, and like just being in that environment of everyone, really was like breath of fresh air, for me, and for them to be able to do that for me. I wanted to be able to like, obviously like stick around and do a lot for them, but being in that room really shifted my mindset a lot in terms of how I could just be better, and how I need to just like kind of, as you mentioned, like don't compare chapter 40 to 1, seeing like and hearing the stories of people that are in the industry, how they saw success, what time it took, how much they put in and trusted themselves, because that's all it is betting on yourself. And that's like the main thing that I really gathered um, from that, is to put everything on me. And so then the event's over. Met everybody, loved everybody, great time. Get back, we start doing kind of like the onboarding process. She had us do quizzes. That was not something I was prepared for. Like, man,
Man, the quizzes can't be doing those. Nah, dude, I'm the same way.
I was like, man, okay. So I gotta do these quizzes. I gotta pass them. You gotta get 85. It was really hard because like, and honestly, to be fair, like doing the quizzes, I was able to get through all like the onboarding stuff quicker because of all the pre-work that I did from just trying to get the job. So a lot of the things
Mm.
that she talked about, I had already been familiarized with because I took the I did the pre-work. And so I really just, learned more about the offer. I'm not gonna lie, I skimmed through like a lot of it because I wanted to get done. I wanted to hit the phones. I wanted to be able to do that. So, but I got everything, and then I had to go through 7-figure sales. Yeah, 7 FSA. A lot of that was already in RCA. So again, I had that kind of advantage to get, do it quicker. And then they're like, "Yeah, we love how you're doing X, Y, Z." It's like, okay. And then I hit the phones. The KPI that they had set was like 2 sets a day because it was a new offer and everything. So first day I got on 5. The next day I got on 5 again. And they're like, "Man, you're killing it, crushing it. Da, da, da. Thank you for being on the team." Um, and I kind of like saw like she's doing a lot of hiring and building the business up. I got to see like the conversations and what she needs, and just taking that in for in the future, because I do want to see that level of success eventually. Um, and then Monday rolls around, and this is kind of when we start talking about like me leaving, because um, I was showing up good, but I just felt like I could do better. It's really weird how this whole thing happened. Um, but I felt like I could do better, And I just wanted to know, like, what was it? So I did some self-reflecting. Like, okay, I zoomed through these quizzes because I like the training for the quizzes because I already knew. So I was like, let me like sit down and actually like attentively listen. Don't just listen for the answers to the quizzes, but listen to everything that's going on. And in the video, there was something that I really just like, it kind of shifted like me, and it just made me have like kind of like a foggy conscience of about like, and it's not like, it's just there's certain things that were tied into the business that I think it should be separate, and it's just I couldn't really get behind that piece of it. And I tried to like get over it. Like I was just thinking to myself, and it affected my work. On Monday, I only got one set. And then I told him on Tuesday, I was like, hey, like I can't even, like I'm sorry, but like this is how I feel, XYZ, you know, I appreciate everything. Like, because again, like I think they're great people. It's just what that was. I remember when I got into this, I was like, I'm not gonna mix those two. And like they kind of had mixed it. And so in my opinion, you know, and we just saw it differently on that, which is fair. It's like just, you know, please find someone else. I appreciate y'all, but this is just something I want to be able to be successful in. So that's kind of how that whole thing went down. But yeah, we left on pretty good terms. I got a good email from them. It wasn't like, oh, you're terminated, get out of here. It's like, you know, we appreciate your work and everything like that. So yeah, I wish them the best of success always. Like, nothing, no bad
Yeah.
blood. So,
Yeah.
yep.
And I'm glad, thank you for sharing all that, because I think it will put it into perspective for a lot of a lot of other people that might be in, for lack of a better word, like a scarcity mindset of, because there is a lot of people that would just stick it out because they're like, well, I got a position and I'm gonna stay in this because this is my only opportunity, right? I think it takes a special type of person to stay within your own integrity, and you kind of looking at that and being like, actually, like I'm not really down with this, right? And making that decision of like, hey, no hard feelings, like I just don't want to be a part of this. And I think that's a huge a huge thing for a lot of people to know, is like there is a lot of opportunity out there. And if you don't feel right within an offer and an opportunity, like you don't have to stay with it. Right. And the second part of that is there's this thing called conviction, right? And you can really only have the conviction. I don't know like the technical definition of conviction, but it's like, having that really like deep rooted confidence that what you're selling, it can actually help the person. Right. And if you decided, or anyone decides like, well, like that's just one little thing, it's going to resurface itself on your conversations. And, when you get to the end where it's the most important, where you need to close and ask the hard questions, that will creep up into your subconscious, and you won't go as hard on the person, or, really tell them how it is, because you're like, well, like maybe it's not the right thing because I know of this thing that's in the back end, and it just makes it a lot harder for you. So you're gonna end up like you just got to have the hard conversation sometimes, and sometimes in this circumstance it went well. Sometimes it might not go so well, but again, it's going to resurface if you don't nip it as soon as you can. So anyway, I do want to take one little step back to the Ascension event, because I want people to kind of what's the word? Live vicariously through you. So to give some context, we did have a Remote Closing Academy Ascension event. So essentially some of our top level clients in the Remote Closing Academy. We had an event in Scottsdale, Arizona. Our entire RCA team flew out, met all the clients, in person. Kind of like Nasir said, it's like it's a different energy when everyone's in the room. It's completely like when you just see people on Zoom, it's just such a different experience of being able to see them. And like, you don't have to leave the call, and you can see people walking around and interacting and talking and having a good time. So it was a really great weekend. Hot in Arizona, but it was a good weekend. So what was like your biggest takeaway, if you can like nail it down to that event? I know there's a lot over the weekend, but if you can nail down just a couple of your takeaways.
I would say my biggest takeaway is that everything that I want to achieve in this field is possible, because there's so many other people that are achieving it, and I met a lot of those people that in that room. Another thing was just I had a conversation with one of the coaches, And it was like when we were doing like our intermingling and like everybody was meeting everybody for the first time. And he just said like, I'm 21, so I had a drink in my hand, and I asked him, I said, hey, like, well, what you sipping on? And he was like, it's juice. And I know this is such a like small thing, but this really like had a huge impact in my mindset. And he's like, it's juice. And I gave him like a weird look, and he was like, yeah, I don't need that. And then like gave him, and he was just like, I don't do like any type of like like altering substance things. And then I kind of like, I followed him on Instagram, and then we talked more throughout the weekend kind of about that. And he really left me like with the impact of like he is extremely happy with like who he is. He doesn't not ever want to be that person. And I know like I'm drinking and like, mingling with people and having a good time, but like just like his conviction alone really made me take a step back and look at like how I operate. And I was like, it's got to change because he has the success that I want to have. And I need to, listen to all the advice that I can get. And that was one of the, like, that was like, and it was like a 30-second conversation that really like stuck with me. And then, just learning from Cole, like hearing his story, super similar. And I would have never thought that because he's this guy, like, he runs this big operation, and then he's sitting there like, yeah, I did this. This is what I struggled with, and XYZ. And I'm just like, what the heck? Like, this guy sucked at this. And he's like, he's who he is. So like, it's just like really understanding that I'm running my race. And I came across this at the time I did, and other people came across it at the time they did for whatever reason that they did. And if I want to see the success that those guys saw, or that they have, then I just need to recognize that I'm in the season of, I don't want to say like what was that was what we kept saying in the room, but like I'm just in that the grind season. We'll just say the grind season of life. And it really just motivated me for like, if I keep up with it next year, then 2 years, and then 3 years, and I don't even know what could happen, after that, because just compounding.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a big theme in the room, was just, and it's just such like a cliche thing, but just how do you learn things? It's by repetition and just hearing something over and over and over again. It just understanding and validating that, okay, I don't have to be a millionaire overnight. I don't have to,
Yeah.
it's just like kind of giving you almost that permission to be like, yeah, it doesn't, have to be something that just happens tomorrow,
Yeah.
And yeah, it's funny with Cole. I talk with him all the time because we haven't even had him on the podcast yet. And I was like, we'll save you for like episode 50 or something. Because, I always tell him like, dude, like you have a really like interesting story. I think, going from like literally being terrible at sales to like the number one sales trainer in the industry is like, it's a cool story. So, yeah, but overall, I think, the events, I just love them because it gets everyone together and you get to meet people and it's a good time. So, I guess with you, like what's, you're back to doing self-sourcing. I guess what's your plan for the next, like, I don't know, couple of weeks? What are you going to be focusing on?
Well, now that I kind of have experience as a setter, and I've been practicing that for the last 4 months anyway, I'm gonna really focus on kind of more of the closing aspects of things. Try to land a role like that, just because like, obviously there is more money in that, and there's a little bit more freedom in that, but it does take a little extra work, and also um, just more effort and more internal work, I think, to really walk people across the finish line. So what's next for me is I'm gonna really remake all the stuff that I can now update because I have experience. Um, and I'm gonna just shoot that out. Probably hit up all the same people before, be like, hey, but this time I got experience. So what you trying to do? And then by the end of the year, the goal is to ultimately be on a roll as a closer, hit my first 10K month, and then from there, just continue to go up and go up, and eventually the goal is to be in Ascension to get that like elite level of training. So.
Sweet. Love it, man. And what, I guess, well, actually, one thing I did want to touch on really quick, is the whole thing of, now you can kind of switch everything. Cause I think a big thing that holds people back from setting or closing or a lot of things that they're doing new is like, well, I don't have experience with that. So like, I can't start. It's like, well, where are you going to get experience then? Like you're going to always be in a place with no experience if you never do it and gain the experience. So, for anyone that's thinking like, oh, like it's going to be hard to become a setter because I don't have experience. Well, I guess actually what was your like approach when, when you were reaching out to companies and you didn't have experience? Like, what was that like 1-minute video or the conversation that you would have?
I would really so I have a military background, and because I'm new, like when I came into the military, so this is like an extra story, I guess. I came into the military, and in my unit, or like my basic training class, the platoon is supposed to be like 40 people apiece. Well, the snowstorm happened, and people got backed up, so we had 60. And so I kind of leveraged the story of me becoming like the Distinguished Honor Guard. If you don't know what that is, it's the top soldier out of everybody. And I really use that to kind of show that when I come into something new, like I can implement, I can adapt, I can be coached, and can show you what I can do, and I can be the best. It's gonna take a little bit of time, but I can follow the rules, I can learn the ropes, and I can do it quickly. And so I would really just try to leverage that, because that's what a lot of these business owners are even looking for. They're looking for someone to come in that's going to work hard. They're looking for someone that's coachable, and they're looking for someone that wants to be good, the best, and doesn't just want to stay stagnant. Because in the business owner's mind, they want to grow. So if you can learn quick and help them grow quick, then they're going to be like, okay, let me give this kid a shot at least. At the very minimum, some people will give you. Some people won't. I'm not gonna say all of them will, because I didn't get a couple of shots, but some will, and you just got to ride that out.
Yeah, I'll add one more thing to that, because that's key, right? Is, when someone looks at it and they look at it in a negative mindset of, oh, I don't have experience or I'll never get this. It's like, well, yeah, if you have that experience, like obviously you're not going to like get much further along. But when you can literally just like think, and it's like, okay, I'm X years old. What struggles or what have I done in the past? And you can, a lot of times, if you're creative enough, and I mean, heck, you got Chat GPT these days. So there really is no, like, there's no excuse that you can't come up with this, but just like think about something in your past or a struggle or something you've done, and then just figure out how to leverage that in a way that will like sell yourself. Right. So, for example, for me, I didn't have any sales experience before, when I was jumping into one of my first sales gigs, but I did work at a restaurant, right? And there's a lot of people that could say that they worked at a restaurant. So, the way that I positioned it was like, hey, to be honest with you, I don't have any experience, but I did work at a restaurant for about 5 years. And what that taught me was how to build rapport really quickly, how to have conversations with everyone, and how to, blah, blah, right? I just made up a bunch of BS, really. But it's like when you can create a parallel that helps you helps you take your story and then position it in a way where it benefits the business owner. That's going to be better than nothing, right? Even if like, I don't know, maybe you just sold lemonade on the side of the road as a kid. It's like, use that as a story. It's like, hey, to be 100% honest with you, I don't have any sales experience. I've never been an appointment setter, but when I was younger, I did this, that, and the other thing. And up to this point, I've been able to hold this standard in my life. And I'm just kind of, again, BSing at this point, but put it in Chat GPT, be like, yo, Chat GPT, how do I create a what's the word? Like a sales interview script based on my experience as a pizza boy. I don't know. I'm just throwing stuff out there, but it's like, you can make a comparison to anything. So don't use, the point of all of this is, don't use any excuse of like, I don't have experience, because if you use that as an excuse and you're already making excuses, then you probably are going to continue to make excuses on everything else. How you do one thing is how you do everything. So anyway, all that being said, so that's, your goal moving forward. Dude, I think that puts us here at the end. So, is there anything like top of mind that you think that we missed, or something that you think someone that's listening to this could take some value out of?
Yeah, I wanted to touch back on when you were mentioning like the time thing, someone being on chapter 40 and someone on chapter 1. Yeah. I keep seeing this recurring theme. And social media is a big factor in that. But it's like, if I just sat there, like if I sit where I am now and I just look at where Cole is, or I look at where Brian is, or I look at where you are, or I look at where, anybody that is ahead of me is, then you're gonna think that you're behind in life. But and it keeps coming up is like, you're on time for you. So like whatever is supposed to happen in like your life is gonna happen in your life. And it's not to say that, oh, you need to be here because someone else is here, or you're farther than someone else because someone else is there. It's just they're at where they are in their life, you're at where you are in your life. And you just have to really remain present for yourself, because then that really eliminates all the like external thoughts of like, I'm not going to be able to do this, I can't do this, because you're looking at too many places instead of looking at, exactly what you need to do to be able to get to whatever goals that you have in your head. So I wrote this quote and I wanted to say it on here. It's, you put whatever is in your way, you put it there. So you alone can remove whatever is in your way. So if you made it to the end, appreciate y'all for watching this. Keep tuning in on my man Aaron.
Wait, love it, man. So yeah, I mean, you probably listen to these episodes, and I usually ask for the last little tip. So we'll say that one's it, but I will end this on making sure that, I mean, if you guys have made it this far in the episode, you guys know how it goes. So up to this point, you're probably interested about remote closing at least a little bit, and how to get started, or appointment setting, all that stuff. So down in the description on YouTube, you'll be able to find there'll be a link to a video that I put together about 45 minutes long. And we'll just bring you through the step-by-step process of what remote closing is, how to find companies, how to reach out to them. And after watching that video, you will have everything that you need to go out and implement this stuff if you wanted to yourself. Or, full disclosure at the end too, we go over how we can partner up directly, and, you could be the next Nasir or anybody that's been on the podcast, and possibly see you guys at the next in-person events, and learning how to be setters and closers. So again, down in the description on YouTube, in the show notes on the podcast app, if you want to check that out. But Nasir, dude, just want to say thanks so much for jumping on, spending the time with us, and giving some of the knowledge. And I know we'll have to get you back on in 6 months to do a follow-up interview and see how it goes with the next offer, or offers if it ends up the next one not working out, and so on and so forth. So that being said, guys, Aaron here from the Remote Closing Academy podcast. We'll see you guys in the next one. Talk soon. Peace.